Williams. I'm a self-published author and independent publisher, and today I'm going to be talking to you about setting up an LLC for your author business. So if you are watching this and you are getting ready to publish your very first book, you have nothing out, feel free to save this to watch later. Later, like maybe years later. So when I was first getting ready to publish my first book, I had seen that there were authors out there who were creating an LLC, pretty much their own publishing company to house their IP in, and then also they could give it a different name, something that sounded very artsy and different, so they're being published by this company, but really they're self-publishing. So I saw all of this, I looked into the fees associated with setting up an LLC, and while they were minimal, I was thinking, okay, well, I'm already paying for cover and ISBNs and all these other things. Let me make some money first and then do that. And of all the resources that I found online, that was pretty much what I saw was you don't need to do this before you publish your first book. You need to see that you have a business there first before you decide to do all the things that go with incorporating as an LLC. So now that I have my fourth book coming out, I am actually consulting and helping other people as they are figuring out how to self-publish, as a coach, as an independent publisher. So I created my own LLC. So as a disclaimer, I am not a lawyer, I am not an accountant. I spoke with both a lawyer and an accountant before I set up an LLC, and based on my individual situation for my business as well as my overall household situation for myself and my husband, it was decided that an LLC was a good idea. So before you do anything to decide if you want to set up an LLC for your writing business, read the links that I'm going to have linked below that kind of go into the detail on the research that I did. Talk to a lawyer, talk to an accountant. If you know a lawyer who is also an accountant or an accountant who also has a law degree, that's kind of nice, 2 for 1, but at least talk with somebody who's a professional, not me. So here's some basic information. So I mentioned back in June that I'm now a full-time author and independent publisher. So I'm really excited to make this jump. Now my business is going to include not just writing and publishing my own work, but also helping other people establish their online presence as an author, consulting with them, helping groups as they want to develop a large publishing arm, ghostwriting. There's a lot involved with it. So I had a friend who's also an author who recommended an accountant to me. So I need to talk to them about some of the accounting items. And one of the recommendations that came from our discussion was to set up an LLC. So again, I'm not an accountant. I talked to an accountant. You should talk to an accountant. But that was one of the decisions that came out of it. So I heard about this concept several years ago, and I saved the information. I put it in my Asana and just didn't even put a date on it. It just stayed in there as an item. And then once I got the recommendation from the accountant this past summer, I said, oh great, I saved all this information. Let me look at it again. So I went through the process of setting up an LLC. So I live in the state of Florida. So I had to pay $125 to file for my LLC. I will now have to submit an annual report to the state that says, here's what my business is doing, here's what it's made, which is kind of intimidating because it's going to be out there as a public record, which I feel like no matter how well I do in my business, I'm always looking to the person ahead of me and thinking, but I'm not doing as good as them. So this is going to force me to kind of face some of those fears of now being a public entity and having to put that out there, but it's also going to drive me to do better. So that's kind of a fringe benefit of the LLC, I guess. So I mailed away my paperwork, I sent it in, I was very excited, and then I waited, and then I waited. So usually it takes about 7 to 10 business days to process this in the state of Florida. So I ended up calling, and they said, well, we had a really high volume of LLC filings, so it's taking a bit longer. So it really didn't take me any extra heartburn or effort, it just took more time while I was waiting. So once I finally got confirmation, I was so excited. I got an official letter from the state that says you're an LLC. Now I also got several letters in the mail from these very official sounding return labels like Florida Certification Department or Florida Records Department, but it had nothing to do with the state. So thankfully, when I called just to be like, hey, I saw my LLC was up online, I wanted to make sure this is legit. Also, do I have to send you $75 to get an official certificate? The guy on the phone was like, throw that away right now. So if you've ever had issues calling state or government departments, the state of Florida Business Division was a delight to work with. They were very courteous on the phone, understanding that I was like, I just want this done now. They were like, it's gonna take a while, we're sorry. Very helpful. And then when I called again, they were like, no, do not spend extra money on the stuff you don't need. So that was super helpful. So it was a fairly straightforward process, and then I'm going to have to, when I submit my annual report, pay an annual fee with that. So now I have an LLC, and I was thinking, okay, should I make it some like fancy name, like such and such fancy books publishing, that makes it look like it's this third-party publishers publishing my works? And I decided, no, my name is my brand, for good or for bad, and so my publishing company is MK Williams Publishing LLC. So I'm really excited to have that now, and I'm going to be bringing you a few more videos coming up in the next few weeks that talk about some of the behind-the-scenes things that are going on now that I have an LLC that I have to move my IP into. So we're going to go on that adventure together. So I hope you found this helpful. If you are at the stage where you think that you may need to be setting up an LLC, again, I've said it several times through this video, I'm saying it again, talk to an accountant, talk to a lawyer, do your research, don't just go off of what one person is saying. But I hope you found this helpful. If you have, please click like and subscribe. This really helps YouTube to know that you found it to be useful information, and it helps it get it in front of other authors like us. Have a great rest of your day.